Hi friends, this is Ashley with Uncommon Roots Homestead, and today, who did we bring home today?
Puppy!
Today we brought home Fury, our livestock guardian dog. Let's see how he does.
Some color on.
Yeah, good job, Fury. Hi, boy.
We do.
Oh, hi, girl. 2 puppies. Come on, Fury. Come on, let's go.
No, I think he needs some color.
Oh, he needs his collar.
Yes.
He's just taking it in. All right. He wasn't interested in walking, so I'm gonna pull him. Okay, so had to carry this 40-pound puppy down the hill because he's not sure about what's happening here. He's gonna live over here.
I'll open the door.
Eventually he'll guard these girls. For now, hold on. For now, we're gonna have him just outside in a run just outside so they can kind of get used to each other and being close to each other, but the girls are enjoying their new run. They have a ton of space. Isla wants to run around with him, but we're just gonna let him get used to it. So let's watch and see how they do. It's okay. It's okay. Just leave him, Isla.
I go in. No fairy. No fairy. It's okay.
Isla, leave him be.
He's gonna bite them.
No, he's not. He's just looking. We just want him to ignore him. He's just seeing him for the first time. Here, Fury. Fury, come here.
Can I give him that treat?
You can.
Fairy's right here. Treat for you. Eat it.
Somebody's not happy. He's doing so good. See, he's just ignoring them. That's what we want. Good boy, Fury. Now you girls, leave him alone. So my toddler, not doing so well, but Fury is doing exactly what we wanted. He is ignoring the flock. And just kind of hanging out by himself, that's good. That's exactly what we want. We don't want him to really pay attention. He sniffed them a couple times and then she's somehow terrified. She's terrified of a chicken, I know. I'm coming. All right, so this is really good. So what you're looking for when you're training a new livestock guardian dog, especially around poultry, is you don't want them to pay attention to your flock. Obviously he's a puppy. We are not going to trust him. We're not going to trust him for a long time. He's not going to stay in here, but he is going to be close. So we're going to put his run right outside of this run. When we're here doing chores and working, when we're here doing chores and working, we'll make sure that he stays. Now we have someone trying to escape, so I'm going to have to go get George right now. George is trying to leave. Come here, George. Come here. Come here. No. Anyways, what we were looking for is for him to not really pay them much attention, and that's exactly what he's done. Also, today is not a good indication of how he'll be forever, right? We know that. He is a baby, just left his family, so he's obviously a little tired, a little bit. It's new. He did fall right to sleep though. What do you think, bud? Maybe he just thinks it's all a dream, but so we'll keep working with him a couple hours every day while we do chores. He'll be in here, hopefully doing this. We'll reward him when he ignores them. When he goes to take a nap, he'll get treats. And we'll also exercise him, run the perimeter, things like that. But we're really excited to be adding Fury to our farm family. It's clearly bedtime. We're losing it over there. So I'm gonna help Kevin get everybody settled, go get the kids some food, and and we'll see you again soon. So, the last thing that everyone saw was, it was a time lapse, a time lapse of us trying to catch the chickens, and it wasn't going very well. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I'll add that video, but I'm pretty sure that you just see me walking back and forth a bunch of times with no chickens.
Was the sound down?
Maybe. So, obviously, it's a couple days later.
We had to cool down a bit.
We're lucky we're all still here. That was quite the evening. So we thought that was going to be a video of us sharing with you all that we brought Fury home and like getting him settled, and the chickens were finally in their new coop, and it was just like this really wonderful, like perfect thing.
That's not how it went, no. So the mistake we made is that we did all these major farm events and changes all on the same night. So we got the puppy, Fury, who is a great Pyrenees.
He's great, and he's great.
And he's really good, yeah. Not great yet, but he's really good. But, so he came home, so we got him settled, or went to the land and we got him settled, and then that was the same day we moved the chickens into their new chicken yard, which I think you showed them on the video.
Yeah. Which is also great.
Yeah, it was awesome during the day. So it's an open air chicken yard. So anyone who is homesteading and has chickens, when I say it's open air, it means there's a fence around the yard, but there's nothing over the top for their run. So it's wide open. Which is awesome. They seem to love it. We got a brand new coop in there too, which
great.
They've really enjoyed, all the space that they have in there. The one thing, well, there was probably multiple things.
I think the biggest problem, so yeah, like I said, it's this like open space. It's wonderful. They have so much more room than they've ever had. Like, you have to remember, Ginger and Babs, those two have lived in our backyard in a not very small, I mean, it's big enough, but like a confined space. They never had free range. So they were in like a 4 foot by 2 foot run plus a little coop. So it was enough space for them technically, but like nothing like this. And then the rest of them have lived basically their whole life in that 10 by 10 dog run because we were building the chicken yard. So one thing that the dog run didn't have is a coop area because the whole thing was protected. There's a roof on top. There were 4 walls that were, chain link, like nothing could get in it. So we didn't worry about that. We had like a separate little like wire, I guess it's like, it was kind of a chicken run, like I don't know, like this separate little thing in there that we had a tarp over, but it wasn't like, that wasn't a coop. And so when the chickens would sleep, they would just roost on things, and they were just pretty much sleeping in the same place they were living. And we failed to recognize how big of a problem that was gonna be when the sun started to go down. And like, mind you, we went to pick Fury up at like 5 p.m. So we didn't even get to the land until 6, and it's February. So it's getting dark, like pitch black dark at like 6:30. Yeah, it's like we did not have a lot of time, and we were in, like, you saw the video. We were in puppy heaven. We were super excited. We were just playing with the dog. Like, we severely underestimated what was about to go down. So, I mean, I feel like we should tell them what kind of went down.
Yeah, so we had a few objectives for the night. One was to move, we wanted to move the 10 by 10 dog kennel thing that the chickens were in over by the chicken yard
To line them up side by side.
Fury next to the chicken yard. And then we also had the objective of getting all the chickens into their new coop for the night.
Which we thought would be easy.
We thought they would do it themselves. A lot of times chickens know where they're supposed to sleep and they go there because that's where they're protected. But on the first night, that is not the case. They had no idea where they were supposed to go.
If they've never had a coop. So, like, this is not going to be, if you are raising chickens in a coop, no problem. They know that's where they sleep. But ours hadn't done that. And so when it started to get dark, S hit the fan. Like, there's no better way to put it. There were chickens everywhere. There were chickens in the trees. There were chickens on the fence. Chickens were jumping the fence. Like, this is a 5-foot fence. And we were like, what? And it's dusk. And we have a puppy that's just chilling in the corner because he's like, his whole world just is upside down at this point. And he did not know what was going on. But there were chickens everywhere. And that's when it really started to get tense. I wish I would have pulled the camera back out so I could be like, and so watch what happened. But no, there was no more camera involvement at that point.
That wouldn't have been a family-friendly video for you to watch. So the chickens,
they were in the trees.
They wanted to roost. So chickens sleep roosting, so up on a bar, if you don't know. So they find a high place.
And they had never known a coop, so they didn't even know to look in there.
Right. So I put roost bars in there and built a roost ladder out of wood that we had in the field, but they didn't even bother going in there. They just found the closest place to hop up and go to sleep, which was our fence. So some of them jumped up on the fence, others jumped over the fence, another one somehow got in a tree near the fence, and then the rest were just running around on the ground trying to get away from me and Ashley. So they were just everywhere, and we still had to move the dog kennel. We still had to.
You had to build the dog house.
I had to build the dog house. I forgot about that.
So we bought like a dog house kit that was, I mean, it was just a couple pieces, not super hard, but like that still had to be done. So at this point, like what's happening in kind of the timeline is I started it's like about dusk and I'm like, okay, we should grab the chickens. That's when I did the time-lapse video. You'll notice not a lot happened and then the video stops. That's because we realized it was not gonna be easy. That's about when all the chickens were jumping the fence and jumping into the tree. And we were like, okay, we're losing sunlight. We need to finish some of these other things and we'll come back to the chickens. We thought maybe it just wasn't dark enough. So Kevin and I ran out to the middle of the field because we were like, we're gonna move this thing. So in my mind, that 10 by 10 dog run is not that heavy. Like, I'm not sure why that's in my mind. Like, it's metal and it is big.
Huge.
But so Kevin goes and he's obviously like much taller than I am and he like picks up his side like pretty easily. And so I go to lift my side, which for me, like the bar that you could grab is like up here for me where it's like down at Kevin's waist because we're like a foot difference in height. And so I go to grab it and I can't even like lift it. Like I cannot get it off the ground. So I'm like, I can't help with this. At this point, like, we're not in the best place. Like, we're kind of yelling at each other. Oh, and we've forgotten a huge piece of this. It's about 38, 40 degrees outside, and our 2 children are now sitting in the dark also. So at this point, you have Liam and you guys saw this on the video. Liam was in the wagon. At this point, he's screaming his head off, like just absolutely losing his mind. Isla, losing her mind screaming. we're kind of like fighting with each other because we're a very high anxiety, high stress at this point, because we're like, we now have 23 living things that we have to figure out what to do with for the night, because they all need to stay alive. Like, we had the dog and 22 chickens. Like, we got to figure this out.
25 if you count our children.
I guess 27 if you count us. Like, we just wanted everybody to get out of there alive. And so now at this point, our new neighbor, who like not even met ya, hey, nice to meet ya, he like comes to the fence, which is pretty far away from where we are. Like he had to scream for us to hear him. He's not close, which should tell you what was going on in the field. And he's like, do you guys need help down there? And I was over it. And I am a pretty nice, I am an outgoing, like outspoken person. No, I was like, I don't need help. No. And he just like, okay, like backs away from his fence. And we probably should have said yes. If you ever see this,
we don't know.
If you're our neighbor and you ever see this, sorry, we probably should have said yes.
It was really nice.
It was really nice.
I texted them a day later and thanked them because it was super nice, and our kids were screaming super loud, and we were undoubtedly
also screaming, probably
using expletives.
It's not okay. Here's the thing. If you're jumping into homesteading, this is reality, right? Like, we thought that this was going to be different than it was, right? We did not think that it was going to be 7 p.m., pitch black, freezing weather. Our 2 kids are screaming. There are 22 chickens still running around up in the trees, over the fence, like being crazy. The dog is traumatized. We can't move the dog run, and he doesn't even have a doghouse. Like, that is not how we thought that night. Like, Monday night was not gonna go like that. No, I didn't think it was gonna be like that. I thought we knew more about what we were doing, right? Like, yes, we're doing a lot of things for the first time, but we're not ignorant to most of the things that come along with what we're doing, if that makes sense. But that's life, and things don't go how you plan. And at the end of the day, I think this is the first of many homestead adventures that we're undoubtedly going to look back at and laugh someday. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's funny now when you think about it, but it wasn't funny then.
No,
and
we thought we were going to lose all of our chickens.
Yeah, I thought they were all going to die because we know we have a coyote problem in the woods. Like, we know we have a predator problem. That's why we got Fury, to protect them. And then here we are putting them and ourselves in a situation where we not only had the time, but we didn't have the resources, and we didn't have, I mean, we were just so ill-equipped to get them comfortable in their new home before introducing something that was like totally another headache for us, even though the dog was perfect at that point. Like, he wasn't doing anything. He was not running away. Like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if he wasn't? Oh, we left out a huge part of this story. Another one. See, this was just like the night that never ends. So
I don't even remember what you're about to say,
so it was after we realized that I couldn't move the coop, we were like, or the run, we were like, fine, like, we're just gonna leave it. He's gonna have to live in the middle of the pasture. Like, it's not ideal, it's not what we thought we were gonna do, but like, whatever, he's gotta stay there. So Kevin like quickly got all the pieces and started building the doghouse, which was pretty easy because we bought a prefab kit, so it was like 5 pieces. He just had to draw them together. Mm-hmm. So he's building that, he gets it in, and the kids are still screaming. I had gone to like kind of try to get them better. They hadn't eaten dinner. Like, parenting hour just was not good. And Kevin was like, just take the kids and get out of here. And I was like, okay, I will do that. But I was like, but first, do you think it would help you do this faster if I bring the truck down and shine the headlights into the chicken yard so that you can see? And he was like, yes, let's do that. So I put the kids in the car. Liam is strapped into his car seat. Isla is just sitting in the passenger seat because I didn't want to go through the fight of like getting her in her car seat at that point. And we were just coming down to like literally drive 150 feet.
Yeah. It is downhill from where the garage is. So
yes.
There's a pretty decent sized hill that you go down.
And the pond is at the end of that.
Yeah, there's a pond to the right, and then the chicken yard's to the left of that.
Yeah.
And it's been either snowing or raining pretty much every day here in East Tennessee for the last week. So it's just the ground's really wet, really soggy.
Yeah. So I go to like get, and actually I did put Isla in her seat at that point. I think she was not in her seat at the top. So the kids are both locked in, like they were fine. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drive the truck down, give him some light, and then we'll drive back up and like go get Chick-fil-A or something and eat. And so I drive down the hill and it's like all going fine, and then all of a sudden the truck starts sliding. And I do not do very well in like that like driving situation. And so all I could think to do was slam on my brakes, which like obviously worst thing you could do. Because now we're sliding down the hill. I've locked up the brakes and we're in like this mud sleet and we're sliding towards the pond. And all I can think is I have 2 kids in the back in their car seats strapped in, and I'm headed towards a pond, which like the pond is not that deep, but like at the end of the day, nobody like that would have just not been good. So finally the truck comes to a stop and it's like on the hill, like the pond is here, it's like here going sideways, it slid to here. And when it stopped moving, I put it in park and was like, I called out to Kevin, I was like, should I get out? And he's like, don't get out of the car. And I didn't know what to do. So then he had to stop grabbing the chickens, which obviously that was like the most time sensitive thing we needed to do. And he had to get in the truck to help me navigate driving because I was too afraid to put it back in drive and slide into the pond.
Any chickens that I did get into the coop at that point
they all
proceeded
came
to
back
walk
out.
back out.
So all of that like to get him light, and it actually like killed another 30 minutes and put you back in the spot you started in. So Kevin drove us back up to the top. I took the kids to go get dinner, and I guess you caught all the chickens.
Yeah, it actually surprisingly went fairly smoothly after everyone was gone.
Once we got out of the way.
Once the chickens roost, they're trying to go to sleep, so they don't really give you much of a fight. You can just kind of grab them off the fence. The only one that gave me trouble was the one that was in the tree. I did have to shake her out of it, and then she just kind of flew to the ground. But they all went in, and to give people hope, if you are doing like an open air yard, once again, that was kind of a nightmare scenario.
It was like it was just the perfect storm.
Yeah, and we didn't time it well,
No.
and we underestimated, kind of what the chickens would do.
And the other things we had to do.
Yeah, but ultimately, since that night, they've been great, and
They've put themselves
They put
up.
themselves in the coop now.
So one night was all it took.
Yep. So if you are,
It just happened to be the same night.
Yeah, I've had everything else there. But if you're planning on doing open air, it's really nice, once they get the hang of it. But that first night, you're gonna have to work with them to get them in the coop unless they have done it before.
Yeah, and so we had this grand vision of sharing that whole experience with you, and like, I don't know, for some reason I just thought that video was gonna end with like everyone tucked into their beds, and it was just this wonderful, just at dusk. And the reality was much different. But I guess we're sharing all of this to kind of close that chapter that we opened when we started the video, because obviously I don't have footage to finish it out. But also just to share that like it's okay when things don't go the way you want them to go. Like that doesn't mean that you're not going to be a successful homesteader. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be doing this. Like it doesn't mean that you're in over your head just when you have a couple hours of high stress when it feels like everything is going wrong. And if you have young kids, I'm just going to go ahead and like guarantee that you're probably going to be in that situation because nothing happens on time. Kids add additional stress to things, especially when they can't help themselves. Like we have a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old. They can't help themselves. So when things are going wrong and we are in high stress, they are also usually falling apart. So all that to say, like, we didn't let this take us down, right? Like it was not our finest hour. But at the end of the day, we sat down and said, okay, that didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but we still love each other. Our kids made it out alive. They're happy and healthy. And I think we learned a lot. Like, there are a lot of things that we did Monday night that we would do differently next time. And we've shared a lot of those in this video, but making sure that we're planning, not doing two huge things on the homestead at the same time, if you can help it, that's really important. Like, we should have prioritized finishing that run and getting the chickens in at least a day before, because we didn't know what that was going to be like. Making sure that, you know, before we bring a new animal onto the homestead, that we've finished everything that animal needs to thrive. We underestimated how much work we had left, I think, that entire weekend, because we originally thought we were going to go get Fury on Sunday, but we hadn't even finished the chicken yard yet. And so we underestimated the amount of work we had to finish the enclosures, which ultimately is the reason that we had the problem with the chickens to begin with. We thought that we would be able to finish the chicken yard before those chickens even moved out of the brooder. And so it's kind of one of those things where we're learning these lessons as we go. And now we know that if we're in a situation where we have you don't always have the ability, right? If you have an animal that's pregnant and gonna have babies and like, you don't, like, you're on their timetable, you might not be able to navigate that. But if you're choosing to bring an animal onto your farm, and you have some control over that timeline, making sure that you have created a space for that animal beforehand is going to save you so much stress, because ultimately when you're introducing a new animal to the farm, there's like, your focus is on the animal. Like, we did not want to be sitting there trying to move the enclosure or building the dog house. We wanted to be taking Fury around and like showing him the land and walking the perimeter and things like that, which is why we kind of misused our time at the beginning. So all of those things, they all taught us something, and we're in this for the long haul. So every opportunity that we can walk through to learn something new is valuable to us, because in this scenario, nothing was sacrificed, right? I know that there will be mistakes that we make on the farm that will result in pain, injury, animal death. Like, those things are all things that happen because of a lack of foresight for the farmer. And this time, none of those things happen. We came pretty close, right? Like, driving the truck down was not smart. I should have known that it was too muddy. Like, that was a dangerous situation. That could have resulted in damage to the vehicle, more damage to the field, like damage to our people, like the humans that were in the truck. Like, that could have been a worse scenario. But we learned something from it. And so it's the same thing. Like, we could have lost chickens as they were jumping over, or like, you know, like, we could have lost things, but we didn't this time. We're very thankful that we didn't, and we're going to take those learnings and implement them next time. But that's why we're sharing this. Like, and someday we'll laugh about it. We kind of laugh about it now. It's kind of funny, like, when you think about it. Yeah. But it's funny in the way that you like think back and you're like, oh, that was like painfully funny. Like, why did we think that was a good idea? But you live and you learn.
True. Hindsight's 20/20. So, if you want to learn from more of our mistakes, feel free to subscribe. We'll be making plenty along the way if you want to follow along and maybe learn something yourself. But certainly this won't be our last. But we're thankful and grateful for the land that we have, the family we have, and community we have as well.
Yeah. So. And if you're not already, look us up on Instagram at Uncommon Roots Homestead. Thank you for joining us, I guess Monday and today. See you next time.